validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Almost there. We got it right around 20% of the hour. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe as you come in there. And if you're coming across those reaction buttons, try your best to take advantage of those. Oh, look at that. They've got the gifts up there. They've got the diamonds up there. They've got all kind of stuff going on right now. So things are shaping up in a lot of different ways. Today, we're going to be talking about that age-old topic of women wanting nice guys or not. I know that we did touch base on this topic a while back in a different context, and that's something that we're going to be talking about today. So even when we revisit a topic, we revisit it in another way. So we have been talking about lately all of the different ways that we can improve ourselves and improve our relationships. And a lot of the times we have this stigma on the show when we're talking to the women about their abilities to improve themselves, that the requirement to be a partner is there, and they need to reconsider their ability to be in a more partner mindset to be able to encourage a more partner-esque scenario where everybody is successful. As we move forward with that topic, make sure that you guys remember that we are live 7 nights a week. We're typically supposed to start at around 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, which is about 11 o'clock Eastern Time, which is definitely around about 7 o'clock California time in the PM hours. For those of you on the Eastern side of the world, it is respectfully the 4 a.m. Green Minutes time and 4 a.m. Universal Standard Time. So just note that it is what it is. We're going to get a lot of showtime on here because I told you guys that regardless of whether or not we hit it on the hour or if we ride through after starting a little bit late, because I typically give you guys a couple of hours of showtime. Regardless of how we make this work, I typically give you guys a couple hours of showtime. So just note that regardless of how we pull this bad boy off, we're going to be in a scenario where we're going to be giving you guys a lot of new information on a lot of new topics. Note that today being Saturday is the day before the members only show, where we will be doing questions and comments from the fans, and then we're going to be talking about some heavy financial investment opportunities Monday through Wednesday. We have thrown some of our investment opportunities in there this last weekend because, some of the fellas have been asking financial questions on self-improvement days. So I'm like, let's answer those questions on self-improvement days because it's part of self-improvement is financial improvement. Be that as it may, we still have a very thick topic for you guys today. Ladies, I encourage you to get involved, chime in, if you will. If you guys are interested in putting your 2 cents in, you can always click that link, approve the mic, approve the camera to bring you into the show in real time. That way you can say what you got to say in the forefront. We ask you guys to be appropriate on the way in because we do have some kids watching. They come to learn and entertain themselves. So throughout their entertainment, I make sure that I teach them something on their way out the door. So just note that while this is an adult channel that's going to have some adult comments, they are to be appropriately structured to support the rest of them that are not adults yet, but they're mature enough to get in here and try to get it done. Also, you guys see those reaction buttons. I do believe they're on the right side of the screen over here somewhere. You guys can utilize those reaction buttons after you've liked the show to show support throughout the show, encourage the algorithm to show to more individuals so that, excuse me, this underrated, undervalued podcast can be spread across a larger network. So I know you guys have seen that if you've updated your YouTube app, if you haven't, there is an update pending. So go update your YouTube app. Woo. They say when you sneeze and somebody's talking about you, hopefully they're saying something controversial. That way we can talk about it later. Either way, I know that you also notice that somewhere towards the bottom over here on the right side that they've got the little gifts icon where you can send gifts to the show. We greatly appreciate that. Special shout out to Bayside for his extremely generous contribution, Max the Poser, and Talenia for showing us some love on the show. We really appreciate that. Bayside's contribution is probably going to help us get the Vino Canto promotion that we were telling you guys about. Probably going to have to get that product in here, utilizing that. It's always a reinvestment. 60% of everything that you get for your business is supposed to be reinvested into your business for success. And while this is a podcast, this is also a business. So we want to make ourselves extra successful. But you have those opportunities there. You also see that little heart off to the side there. You can just throw a cash in a comment, and that will also contribute to the podcast. So there's different ways that you can show support. Even if you don't have it, you could just mash those reaction buttons, and that will put us in a position where, more people will see us, because it's about getting the word out. Special shout out to those of you that are on Twitter X. I see y'all, and the rest of you that are on Twitch. We have not rotated ourselves over to TikTok because TikTok has yet to be bought out. And TikTok also has this requirement that is excruciatingly painful to get the stream key, because I'm streaming off of multiple platforms, and it would be nice to stream off of TikTok as well. But it costs capital to stream off of TikTok. So kind of going to wait on that. No, nothing's free in this world. You think, oh yeah, you can stream for free. Nah. It costs somewhere. So be that as it may, stay tuned, because ladies, we're going to be telling you some ways that you girls can invest and have access to investments in a more effective fashion, so that you're not always on the grind the way the fellas are out here always on the grind. So definitely stay tuned for that. So let's get into today's topic. Since we are diving deep into two of the interconnected topics that hold significant relevance in today's world, one of which is, do women really want nice guys? Are they after the bad boys? And how can working women overcome barriers to achieve financial self-sufficiency through investing? Now, these discussions are not only fascinating, but also essential for understanding the complexities of modern relationships and financial empowerment. So let's unpack these ideas, insights, research, and actionable advice that you ladies can use from a man's perspective on a male-driven podcast. So this is not one of those red pill, blue pill, black pill podcasts. We want everybody to be financially successful here, men and women alike. The only difference is that we do still traditionally adhere to those roles from back in the day, where the responsibility of the masculine man is expected to have certain characteristic traits and behavior patterns, thus forcing the compatible partner to have their own respective roles that should be uniformly enforced. Now, notice that it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Those that are stepping into the masculine role has masculine expectations, and those that are falling into the feminine role have feminine expectations. And those that are going to be the alpha head of household are going to have to make sure that they are reasonably delegating to their subordinates in the relationship in order to be fair and not oppressive. So as we start talking about this, I want you guys to understand that it doesn't matter if you're a dude or a chick. What matters is that you're in a position where you can show support to your partner in your long-standing relationships. Now, since there is a long-standing belief that women do not want nice guys, which has led to confusion and frustration for many men navigating the dating world, we have to understand that these stereotypes suggest that women are more attracted to bad boys or men who exude confidence, excitement, and unpredictability, while overlooking kind and dependable men. Well, got you on this one, ladies. That is not the case. I understand, based on extensive research, this perception is far from accurate. Many men worry that being too nice will lead to being friend zoned or taken advantage of. Guys, you can be taken advantage of, or you could be friend zoned simply because you are not what they were looking for when you were looking for them. Doesn't necessarily mean that no woman's going to want you. You just got to remember that when it is their season to settle down, it'll be your season to step up. But that also means that you have to wait until they retire before they choose you. That's something that has never been overturned in the dating atmosphere. Now, this perception can push men to adopt personas that don't align with their true selves, such as trying to emulate the stereotypical bad boys in hopes of appearing more attractive. Now, unfortunately, this approach often leads to frustration and disappointment for both parties. Men feel like they're compromising their authenticity, while women feel misunderstood or misrepresented. The media has played a significant role in perpetuating these ideas in movies and TV shows, often depicting bad boys as thrilling and dominant, while nice guys are portrayed as passive or boring. However, real life relationships are far more nuanced than these fictional narratives suggested. Research shows that women's preferences vary depending on their relationship goals. We have talked about on the show plenty of times before that women's preferences also vary based on their age, because as they get older, their preferences tend to shift and their choice in partners tends to shift. This also leads to long-standing relationships having rocky areas in the relationship, because what she might have wanted when she first started dating you is not necessarily what she wants now. And if you are not able to adapt to that change, that could become catastrophic from a one-sided perspective. In a short-term context, traits like confidence and charisma may be more appealing, but when it comes to long-term relationship qualities such as kindness, emotional intelligence, and reliability take center stage. Psychological theories suggest that bad boys' confidence and unpredictability make them appealing in casual dating scenarios where these traits can signal the excitement and dominance, which aligns with evolutionary instincts tied to protection and genetic fitness. We do still have our evolutionary genetic primal urges where procreation occurs because of repopulation, instinctual repopulation. However, we also understand that our spoiled Western lifestyles have allowed us to overlook our primal and instinctual urges to maintain our genetic fitness in our current gene pool, and typically strive for something other than developing a genetic lineage in our current societal gene pools. I am one of those men that has the goal to make sure that there is going to be some genetics in quite a few gene pools some kind of way. The easy way or the hard way. Remember that one doctor who was doing those in vitro things, and he had what, 96 kids because he was donating his sperm to all the women. Bro, reckless. But with 96 children on the planet, regardless of what they do to him, his genetic code is still there. So that might have to be something to do. You know, put some sperm on the market and sell it. However, the initial attraction often fades once deeper qualities like empathy and reliability come into play. So personal anecdotes highlight a common pattern. While bad boys may initially captivate the attention, relationships with them often lead to disappointment or emotional turmoil. So a lot of women have this type, and I've told you guys before this on the show that when you're attracted to a specific type and that type leads you to disappointment and emotional turmoil, catastrophic relationships, toxicity, you need to understand that you need to reassess what you believe your type should be, and maybe instead of aiming for what is your type, aim for something that is not your type, that is more along the lines of what you need, something that you're more compatible with, where you can agree that while this might have not have been the person you would have selected, since this person is here and it meets all the other criteria, you will accept this person. You know, that really is something that women do in their 30s. But if you start doing this in your early 20s, ladies, this is going to be a fantastic shift in the dynamic of your dating world. Now, this cycle underscores why women eventually shift their focus towards partners who often offer stability and emotional security. So women want partners who are genuine, confident, and well-rounded. Being nice just isn't about being agreeable. It's about showing empathy, respect, and authenticity. For example, a man who listens actively and supports his partner's goals is far more attractive than to a woman than someone who is superficially agreeable. Confidence paired with kindness, like the personas of public figures such as Ryan Reynolds or John Lennon, creates a balance that many women find irresistible. Now, when women are chasing the bad boy mentality, notice that the younger generation of women go after such playboy ideals such as Usher, with the cherry eating scenarios and backstage behavior patterns. But that doesn't change the fact that when the women are looking for stability in long-term relationships, they typically navigate away from that. While the fantasy of that particular type of lifestyle might marinate in a lot of different women, the rational and logical perspectives of women that are looking for security and stability are going to, in their older years, navigate away from catastrophic behavior. Now, a woman might prefer a partner who encourages her career ambitions while also being emotionally available during the tough times. And we've noticed that we've seen a lot of women in social media that have been questioning men out the gate of her goals and ambitions, and whether or not if she chose him, if he would support her goals and ambitions, and aid her in her ability to be economically successful. A lot of confident men have the expectation and appreciation of a successful woman because in modern times, since women are not adhering to the traditional roles of being subordinate to their boyfriends and their husbands, it is more logical and more rational to have a partnership where contribution dictates authority, where I've always said, pay the cost to be the boss. In an egalitarian scenario, you're both paying in equal proportion into the overall cost, which ironically might not be the same for both parties, as we're going to be talking about later on in the show, because we could find yourselves in a scenario where your income is less than his income, and you might not be able to afford to put in a certain quantity. When you fall into those ideologies where the hypergamy theory causes women to chase after men that are more successful, more financially stable, and ideally by the woman better in every aspect, being uplifted to that status level requires a level of subordinateness that women don't realize. However, when you're finding somebody that is clearly on your level, an individual that can do for you what you can do for yourself, that's the type of person that doesn't necessarily have more than what you're capable of having, but that individual can take away a lot of your responsibilities while maintaining a steady course. Now, finding somebody like that is on your level, that particular individual might require your capabilities to contribute in a universal standing, which is interesting that people don't pay attention to that part. Women just believe that we're supposed to be equal just because we're opposite genders. And that's not necessarily the case, because no two men are equal to each other because of social status, financial status. So no man or woman will be equal to one another from different financial statuses and different social statuses. So when you're aiming for somebody with a higher financial and social status, you're not equal to that person. But if you find a scenario where the shoes are on the other foot and you have a higher social status, a higher economic status than the man that you're with, your capabilities to not overdo it and meet him halfway, where he puts up as much as he could put up and you put up the rest, you find that you're capable of developing a partnership if you're not overbearing and dominating the man. So we have to realize that, the characteristics of the man is more important than the amount of money that's in the man's pocket. Because I've told you guys over the past couple of weeks that if two people with a $40,000 income, which is like a mid-range teacher salary, pool their money together, living a lifestyle underneath the $40,000 income of one individual, they could take the other 40,000 and invest it into high interest stocks and bonds and make themselves millionaires inside of 10 years. I also stated how individuals that are making moderately 50, 55,000 a year per person, where you're both reasonably within $1,000 or $2,000 pay scale of one another. The fact is that if you're living inside of the $50,000 a year income, which is a reasonably lower middle class lifestyle, that you could take the remaining $50,000 and invest that, or $40,000 and live a $60,000 a year lifestyle, which is really close to living comfortably by the standards of the U.S. Census, where you would ultimately be able to still make yourselves millionaires inside of 10 years. Now, this requires you guys to have a different mindset and a different mentality. But what we can understand is that if you're looking at the right kind of guy, you're not looking for that guy that's charging it to the underhills at the club. You're not looking for the guy that is spending a bunch of money on every engagement with you, or buying you a bunch of expensive gifts, or taking you to a bunch of fancy places. You're looking for the guy that is fiscally responsible so that he can make more money, make money for him, and you can partner with him and do the same. Now, other women might value someone who shares her interests, but also introduces her to new perspectives. So there are some women that want to be shown something that they didn't already know, but they also don't want to be told what to do 100% of the time. So you got to be able to mesh with her and provide her with a little bit of insight on some new things. Now, as we do every night, we've got our first one coming in tonight. Rev is here. So we're going to come off of a different one. Special shout out to Rev. And that is true.
Compromising no time for the average game. Elevating myself, that's my only aim. This is the elevation protocol. Rising above the chaos, taking control. My values non-negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So Rev said, this is when your relationship becomes a business. And that's exactly what I've been telling you guys over the past few weeks, is that we need to change our mindsets to a business mindset, because we are, in fact, walking businesses. We are, in fact, when we get married, we're having a business merger, because you as a single man is merging your business with her as a single woman, and y'all are becoming a joint couple, which is now a partnership. Y'all are in relationships are called partnerships because you're in business together, the business of creating this family. And you guys have to recognize that if you change your mentality from selfish desires to the success of the business, then you can eventually be able to tell yourself that the petty squabbles are not nearly as important as the relationship. The relationship is bigger than selfishness. It is bigger than individual wants, needs, and desires. It is bigger than personal gripes. We are supposed to be able to, in these relationships, make sure y'all like and subscribe as y'all fall through. We are supposed to be able to find ways to push our relationships further in a positive fashion, where it doesn't feel like only one person is contributing to the success of the relationship. But one of the things we have to change is, what do we value in the relationship? Rev says, like you said, the both become successful Yeah, they everybody, because so I've told some women that, on this show, and this is about y'all today, ladies, but I told some women on the show, I'm like, look, you can, instead of sitting there with your hand out waiting for the boyfriend or the husband to give you allowance money to go and spend while you keep your money in your pocket, and alternatively, instead of saying I don't need none of your money and taking your money and spending it on yourself, you could be making better decisions where you are making financial investments that will lead you to a financially prosperous future, so that even if y'all got together and y'all started off poor, y'all could have a relationship where y'all ended up being financially successful. And one of the things that we've noticed is, back in the day, and we talk about this a lot, back in the 70s and early 80s, women used to handle the finances. Now in modern 2025, with the fintech that we have out right now, special shout out to Fintech 101, the ladies are not willing to manage the finances. A lot of them are willing to manage themselves. Selfish behavior does not function in a partnership. It doesn't matter if it's a romantic relationship, friendships, family, work environments. If one person is looking out for number one and the other person is looking out for the group, it ends up having a lot of resentment, because the person that is looking out for number one does not rationalize the fact that he or she is not being a partner. And that is the independent mindset. Whereas the person who is putting in the effort for the success of the group, for the success of the unit, for the success of the business, that is the family or the friendship or the whatever kind of partnership you have, that person is a self-sufficient mindset, where that person is going to hold the fort down in hopes that reinforcements will arrive and take some of the stress off of the plate. Doesn't always happen. A lot of times you find yourselves in these types of relationships and engagements with individuals where you have to continuously coach them to be assistive to the totality of the environment, which is why I tell you guys that on a regular basis, you need to have, if not weekly, at least monthly revisits of how your relationship is going and how satisfied both parties are. Now, this does not mean that you're supposed to have a weekly bitch fest where you're going to be bashing each other and talking about, well, you did this and you did that, and I didn't get this and I didn't get that. The fact is, you have to be able to jot down what are your needs, what are their needs, and then reinforce that with what can we do differently to better accommodate your needs, then better accommodate my needs. If you're the person that's starting this presentation about analyzing the relationship, you never want to start with yourself first, because if you start with yourself first, it is a bitch fest. They're going to take that defensively if you start this discussion off with, I have problems. I don't know why this is, but this is a case. If you were to start your conversation off with, we talked about this, and this before, how much of the things that you wanted to improve have become more closely accessible to you, or better managed, or more effectively accomplished. Now, we've checked off all of your wants and needs off of the list. Now that we're sure that you're satisfied, or that we're going to make changes to make you satisfied, now let's talk about, in this same conversation, the things that I believe that I am missing. If you start with somebody else, you make sure that they're satisfied first. You're coming from an area of self-sufficiency where you are going to make sure that the group pack mentality is taken care of before you try to take care of yourself. This mentality allows you, and ladies, y'all can do this a lot, because your selfish desire is that you don't feel like you're getting what you want. But if you make sure that your partner gets what they need before you start making demands, it is more rational and it is more logical to ask or demand for something after you have given. But to demand to receive before you have given is unrealistic, regardless of which side of the fence you're on, be it a man or a woman. Men typically contribute into the relationship silently, and we've been talking about that for a while. And then after an extensive period of time of contributions, then the man starts saying, I'm not receiving what I feel like I should be receiving because I've already been giving. Never does a man dive into a relationship, doesn't contribute to the relationship at all, and then says, I want, I want, I want. Even in the dating field, you have men that offer to pay, offer to do, offer to buy, and in return, again, reciprocation, sex. It is still a dynamic where the man gave out first. The man's not like, oh no, I'm gonna sleep with you first, and then if the sex is good enough, I might take you out to eat. That's not how life works. Take you to dinner, take you to movies, take you to exciting excursions. And if I spend enough money and you've had a good enough time, then I might get sex. That's the mentality of dating, at least over the past 30 years, which I think is ridiculous. But that's the way things have been. So every dynamic requires contribution from all sides. Now, Rev says, because most women these days just want to spend, spend, spend. The mentality of children these days, Rev, it's not just men or women. The mentality of children right now is to be given money to get out of my face. That's how parents are treating children. Take this and go buy yourself something. Go play with your friends. They cash apping their kids money to go out there and rent them electric scooters. Get out of my face. Go outside and go play. Here goes some money. They buy their kids expensive name brand clothes to show off for their friends and their family. Then they teach their kids name brand. Their kids learn name brand from their friends and their family in school, but kids only know about name brand because somebody taught them in their toddler phases that they look fancy because they're wearing this name brand attire. You know, kids don't learn name brand clothes in private schools with school uniforms. Kids learn name brand when they are going to schools that don't have school uniforms, which is why a lot of schools started enforcing school uniforms. But see, parents don't teach their children the difference between durability and the brand, where you can buy the exact same shirt that doesn't belong to a specific brand, last just as long, if not longer, and pay a third of the price, where you could end up with more clothes for the same amount of money. They just don't have a bunch of commonly recognized logos all over them. We don't teach our children that, men and women alike. As a result, men are walking fashion shows. These young boys out here right now, these Gen Zs and the next generation after that are like fashion models. They've got to get name brand this, name brand that. Everybody's running the Jordans, if not Nikes and Reeboks. Very few are seeing with Reeboks these days. It's more like Jordans, Adidas, and Vans. And the fact is that they're modeling their attire off of stereotypical celebrities from like rap videos and mobster movies and stuff to that effect, but they're not emulating their average successful man, such as teachers and lawyers and judges and doctors and real estate investors and accountants and bank managers. And, you know, kids don't know nothing about suits. The first time they see a suit is when they go into court. And the second time they see a suit is when they go into a funeral. Third time they see a suit is when they're going to a wedding. That is it. And they're probably going to go to court before they go to a wedding, and they probably will go to a funeral before they go to court if the funeral is related to the court case. And that's the only time they see suits. Ladies don't see respectable dresses. They see everything has got to be skin tight, showing off their assets, and they're going to emulate that. But women are only taught to spend, spend, spend because women have not been taught what their value is. Women believe that their value is what they contribute to the relationship monetarily, which is not what men value. Women gauge their value as to how they stack up to their expectations of a man. So she will get an education and she will become more masculine, but that does not mean that a man is going to value that. Now, working on her relationship, if she does make herself financially successful and she does make herself educated, what a woman would have to do to utilize that skill set is not get those characteristics to please the other person, is to utilize those characteristics to partner with the other person, to aid the other person in being more successful so that she can have more to spend. If women were more passive about selfishness, you would make the relationship more financially successful so that you have more money to spend in the relationship. Instead of just wanting to get more, you generate more so that you have more to spend, because men are simplistic. There are wasteful men. We waste money on cars, stereo systems, women, video games, but men are simple. Once you get the man what the man is looking for, the man's not really spending no money on nothing else. Unless he has a hobby or a desire that requires consistent investment, like alcoholism, smoking, weed, video games, video game memberships, online gaming platforms that requires regular maintenance, or rebuilding a car from the ground up that requires continuous investment to make the car run right, paint it, put rims on it, put $40,000 stereo systems in it, all this other stuff just so that it could get stolen or impounded at the local swap meets where they drag racing in the Walmart parking lot, and then the sheriff come and take everybody's car. Now, all of those things are things that men do irresponsibly, besides throwing money at expensive dates to convince women to come in and hook up with them when the men are not in the mentality of longevity or long financial relationships or emotional relationships. So men have their bad habits. I'm not saying that this is all women's fault. What I'm saying is, ladies, is that you look for the security and the protection. Men don't look for that. And since men don't look for that, in order for a woman to find that security and that protection, she finds that potential of security and protection in the man that she's choosing, and then groom him to be more successful and more protected. And in order to do that, I'm going to tell you, ladies, like this: women don't like being compared to cars. We're going to compare men to dogs real quick. You want your dog to protect you. You don't stop them from barking at people. You want your dog to defend you. You don't stop them from standing between you and somebody else and growling at somebody. You want your dog to keep people from getting too close to you. You don't stop them from charging people. You just stop them from jumping on them. But when you know that your dog is not wrong for what he or she is doing, you let your dog go and you let your dog do what it does, and then you protect your dog from the follow-up. Same thing with your men, ladies. You don't tell your men what to do and what not to do when it comes down to them protecting and providing to you. You recognize that what they're telling you is in your best interest. You accept that, you make the changes, you push forward with the instructions that he gave you. If you believe that after the fact, after you have made the corrections that he has told you to make, that you believe that he needs to be counseled or coached as to how to differently approach that situation, then you can communicate with him as to how you would prefer to be talked to, or what you would prefer for him not to address, or something to that effect, because it is still a partnership. But if I hire somebody to be a manager of my team, I can't tell my manager what not to tell the crew, because that makes the crew lose respect of my manager. So he or she's going to say what they're going to say. I'm going to stand there and I'm not going to tell them nothing. I'm not going to correct them in front of the crew. But when me and the manager go out back somewhere where the crew is out there working, what you said is what you said, but I'm going to tell you that you probably shouldn't have said it like that. You probably should approach it from a different direction. You'll be a lot more successful if you aim low and observe high results. Build them up to loyalty towards you, and then ask for more. Don't ask for too much before they've even dedicated themselves to your expectations. Now, that will cause the manager themselves, the supervisor, to change their direction. But they changed their direction. I didn't overrule them. in front of the crew. I didn't take away their authority as the leader of the shift. In the relationship, ladies, that's the exact same way you got to behave. Even if you don't agree with the decisions that the man is making out in the street, you don't challenge that out in the street. You wait till you're in the comfort of your own home when it's just the two of you. So send the kids out to go play with their friends. And then you have a quiet and calm conversation with your partner and let them know what things you disagreed with in whatever scenario that pissed you off. Compromise with him as to how he can make changes, because even when you hire a lawyer, ladies, you're going to tell your lawyer when they're not doing a good job, but you're not going to tell your lawyer that your lawyer sucks at his job in the courtroom while your lawyer is representing you. You're going to sit there. You're going to stay quiet. The judge is going to drop the gavel. When you leave the courtroom, you will go talk to your lawyer in your lawyer's office and tell him how he's fucking up your case. That is what you're supposed to be dealing with in a respectful fashion when you're talking to your partner. This gives you the ability to change your relationship to something that you're satisfied with while giving your man the respect that he expects to receive in the relationship so that you both can thrive. Because when a man coaches a woman, he's not going to tell her what she can and cannot do throughout the house. She can redecorate the whole fucking house. But there are going to be some scenarios where a guy is going to say, look, I have such and such portrait or such and such thing on a mantle or whatever, and I don't want that to be moved. Now, that means that everything else is up for grabs. But that one thing that I said, don't move that. Don't take that down. Or if you took it down, put it back. That's the only thing that I'm caring about. Everything else that you change, that's fine. You ask me in my opinion, I'm an abstained opinion until I see something that bothers me. Then I'm going to come in and say, okay, this is not okay. Now, ladies, when a man allows you to make all of the insignificant decisions where he's not objective, he's not to or for it, then the one time he steps up and says, I disagree with what's about to happen, that's when you're supposed to pay attention. Because clearly there is some history behind this opinion. Think about it like this, ladies. Normally my man don't tell me nothing, but today he told me all kind of stuff. Well, then you might need to listen today. Crystal clear and sincere. Success is my language, respect is my currency. Mediocrity falls away from my urgency. Second one diving into the comment section today. I really appreciate you. It's a good conversation, guys. I'm just watching UFC. I'm listening, bro. Building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness, demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. Hey, who's fighting? And is they getting they behind? I know it ain't Brock because the match would have been over 30 seconds in. Had it been Brock Lesnar, it'd have been a TKO out the gate. Now, psychological theories suggest that bad boys may be appealing in short-term relationships because their dominant traits signal excitement and genetic fitness. However, this allure often fades when emotional security becomes a priority in the women's lives. He says, Patty Pimblett. Ooh. Patty sounds like a chick. I know there's been some female UFC fighters out there, and there was some of them, and I was like, wow, I could use one of those. Like when Triple H was dating China, I always thought China was a man, but I don't really know. I don't care, but I always thought that was a dude. But some of these female fighters at UFC, I was like, shoo, while I would not argue with her, I could see myself with that fitness. I will be right next to her eating a bag of Doritos and a loaded baked potato, extra sour cream, onion, and bacon while she's doing her workout. But there was that one chick that's got the big behind, and she was over there shaking her behind in everybody's face during the UFC fight, and I was like, yeah, that low class is just something that cannot happen. I don't care if it's a celebration thing or what. It's just fanning your behind in public is not what, even as a fighter, where there isn't prestige in women fighting. But even as a fighter, a woman should never devalue herself to shaking her behind in public. Just being real. As much as men long for that, lustfully, the fact is that is not what women of class should do. So I think that she should find another celebration pose, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, all the other guys that like watching her fan her behind on the stage don't really care about that, and they'll object to me. They're like, nah, that's all right. She can fan it. I don't care what her class level is. I'm watching her on TV. But I'm just gonna be real with you. That's not the direction that a woman would go when she starts changing her mentality to say, I want to be a wife. So what you don't want in modern era is your fanny all over social internet, being fanned profusely in different geographical locations where your partner can Google yo behind and find it fanning all over the place. Just saying, ladies. Now, many women report initial attraction to bad boys followed by disappointment due to the emotional unavailability and instability of that man. And there's a lot of men that's got a lot of stuff on their plate where they're not making appropriate decisions because they're not duty bound to nothing. They have no goals, no values, no inhibitions. And those men live a reckless lifestyle. Now, while that reckless lifestyle is thrilling to some women who find consistency and durability boring and uneventful, the fact is that after they finish going down that roller coaster ride, they want some peace. Not everybody wants to live that terminal velocity lifestyle. Not everybody wants to live that Jason Bourne lifestyle all the time. Oh yeah, you might want a little bit of excitement in your life. You might want a little bit of thrill in your life. But what you're more comfortable with is knowing that, like clockwork, your husband show up when he's supposed to. He's going where he said he was going to go without having to tell you. Stuff gets done on time without you having to go chase him down and get him to do it. And whenever you need something, it shows up before you have to ask for it. That is consistency. That is stability. And that, ladies, is boring. Instead of you arguing with him about money, everything that you wanted to buy was bought and shipped to the house. So before you could start the conversation, Amazon, UPS, and FedEx is knocking on the door, dropping stuff off. There's nothing for you to argue about. But the thrill of receiving gifts from a man fades quickly, especially when it happens too often. So there's no excitement in getting stuff from him on a regular basis. And another thing, Bayside, this is something that we have been doing. Adults have been doing this to children on a regular basis. Is when adults fuck up, they buy the kids stuff. When adults mistreat each other, they buy other adults stuff to make it up to them. This is inherently instilled into the core of children, both boys and girls alike, whereas they are some who recognize they're being bought out are not privy to gifts. They don't like receiving gifts because there's no value in those gifts because they know that this is to replace a real, genuine apology. Others who never get anything and only get something when somebody else screws up are going to see getting something as finally I got something. But that's going to put them in that spin mentality because if you keep giving them money, they're going to put the value of your emotional connection to them to the amount of stuff that you buy. This is a developing of the type of love language that receives gifts. And even them buying gifts for themselves still stimulates the ability of self-love in addition to being loved by somebody else in a relationship. So we can't really just knock women for inherently spin because guys do it too sometimes. It's just that women are allowed to do it more than guys because women are not really required to buy anything when they're with a man. Men are not usually allowed to not buy anything when they're with a woman. That means that while a man is allowed to buy when he has no responsibilities, he has to save so that he has enough money to buy for the women, because women have not changed their mentality to until they get into like their late 40s, early 50s, when they start buying stuff for men to get men's attention, because men don't value older women when the women are not able to reproduce and they're less attractive than the younger women. So the older women get, the more women reinvest in the dating game, because they're going to pay for those gold memberships on the platforms. They're going to pay. You see that on the dating platforms. Go and look at a lot of these dating platforms. You will come to find that these dating platforms have more middle-aged single women, 40s, 50s, 60s, than they have single women, 20s, 18, 30. Well, I will say they probably starts at 30, but 27 to 18, they don't pay for the membership. They just hang out until somebody who's already paid for the membership reach out to them. But the women that are really genuinely looking for genuine connection paid for the membership and will actively reach out. And the irony of that is that you've done that after the men stop chasing you. Now, this dynamic means that women are going to probably spend more in their older ages and potentially not even be as financially stable as they would have hoped, but they're going to find that same consistency in their own lives as single women when they have to balance the budget by themselves at 45, 50 years old with 20 cats in the house. And they'll find themselves living that boring lifestyle that they tried to avoid when they were younger. On the other hand, the nice guys often provide the stability and support that many women seek in long-term relationships. Now, the key is balance. Now, women value kindness, but also desire confidence and assertiveness in their partners. So, fellas, instead of us chasing the dragon with always asking her for her consent and her approval, we have to be confident about what we're doing and recognize that we're taking her to a specific place because we already know that she likes this, or I'm taking her here because I want to go here. And then after I finish what I'm doing here, I'm going to take her to where she wanted to go because she doesn't want to go here. So if you're dating one of those girls that likes Chipotle or Chick-fil-A or something like that, you want to go have lunch with her. You want to go to like Five Guys or something like that. Instead of taking her to one place and getting something for both of you, you make it clear when you get to the restaurant, oh, we're going to go get my food first so that your food isn't cold. She's going to say, I don't want to eat at Five Guys. I know I'm not getting you anything at Five Guys. Your food is going to be hot. We're going to go here first. Then I'm going to take you to where you want to eat. So my food will be in the car while you're getting what you want to eat. So your food will be hot. She should not argue with that. But if you're not clear in your communication, she's going to assume that you're not buying her nothing to eat. And then that's going to start an argument. But you have to let her know with confidence. I'm going here because this is what I want. And then I'm going to take you to get you what you want to eat. And then we will eat together. But I'm not interested in the place that you want to eat. And you're not interested in the place that I want to eat. But we're both going to eat together. You're clear about that, especially early on in the date. You actually can turn that into a trend, because I said this about 4 months ago on the show, that y'all can go on like a scavenger hunt for food, where you go to different restaurants and buy something from each of the restaurants, something that you like, something that your partner likes, bring it all back to the house or take it to the park or something to that effect. And then y'all eat together like a potluck, a little buffet. And each of you've gotten your favorite things out of the meal, but no one person has to settle for less than their expectations, because no one person has to accept the one restaurant choice. because the whole afternoon was about going to all of these places and getting whatever it is that we're going to get, and then going to a specific location and enjoying it together. And I always tell you guys, fellas, to show value in your woman, what you would do is get all the stuff for you first. Women are going to say, oh, that's bullshit. No. Why not get mine first? Like I just told you a few seconds ago, the first person who bought a food is going to be cold as fuck by the time the last person's food gets bought, and then we get to the destination. So if I'm eating burgers and fries and cheese sticks that's cold, and you got a hot plate of food, then we're still eating, but your food is hot. That puts you first. So you were going to buy my food first and buy your food last. Unless we're getting like sandwiches at Subway or something, then we can just do what we got to do. Now, women have attraction in a contextual platform. Preferences vary based on whether someone is seeking short-term excitement or long-term stability. Now, confidence is always going to matter to women because confidence enhances attractiveness across all personality types. However, there's a difference between confidence and combativeness. Men and women equally prefer confidence in their partners. Neither side appreciates combativeness from their partners. Women do not want to be talked down to by their man, but they do want their man to make executive decisions. Men do not want to be talked down to by their woman, but they want their woman to know what she wants. I shouldn't have to figure it out for you, but you should not talk down to me about it. If ladies were to readdress the communication dialogue, you would find that your partnership would be a little bit more involved because you guys would be catering to each other's expectations and fulfilling each other's needs. Authenticity over niceness is always going to be a situation that a lot of women are going to be looking for regardless of their age. Genuine behavior is far more appealing than superficial agreeableness. No one likes a yes man. They prefer you being honest, unless she asks you, does this outfit make my butt look big? If a woman is insecure about the way she looks, she wants you to lie to her to make her feel better about herself. For some reason, I have not understood this yet or figured this out yet. They would prefer for you to lie to them and tell them that they look attractive than for you to tell them the truth and say that you need to take that outfit off and burn it and never be seen in it again. But unfortunately, when a man is honest and say you don't look good in that outfit, she's going to immediately assume that you're not attracted to her overall. And it's not her that is the less attractiveness. It is the way the outfit fits her that is the less attractiveness that you want to change. Now, if women think about this, they're dressing not to attract new men because they're already in a relationship. They're dressing to maintain the attraction of the man that they have while remaining modest. You don't want to give up and lose all of the appeal that made your partner want you, the same way you don't want to buy a brand new car and then let it get all scratched up. No woman wants to wear fingernails that have been broken. No woman wants to wear heels that have been broken. No woman wants weave where the weave that came out. Don't no man want no woman that don't keep herself up. Now, we have a lot of cultural influences here that not a lot of people, we talk about it a lot, but not a lot of people agree with how it impacts relationships. But the media stereotypes shape perceptions and don't always reflect the real life dynamics. Ultimately, attraction is deeply personal and shaped by individual values, experiences, and goals, which is why, as we talked about late last week during the show, how women's expectations, and I believe Bayside told us this, the women's expectations increase based on what they didn't get from the last man. And so wise words from one of the longstanding followers of the platform. And the fact is that as those expectations change, the behavior patterns of the men have to change. Now, ladies have to realize that a man's actions are going to also change based on how he was treated in the last relationship. So instead of a man having more expectations for his woman, men more often than not will do less because what he went overboard doing in the past relationship wasn't appreciated or respected or valued. So cloud 9 might have been the last relationship, and he might be on like cloud 4 this time around. He ain't going all in this time around. You might hear about all of the things, and this is why, like, what you do for your partners in past relationships is not a discussion that's supposed to happen, but some people like to have these discussions. If you went all out with candles and dinner and rose petals and expensive cars and all this other stuff with your last girlfriend, and this girlfriend, all she's getting in a Hallmark postcard, she's going to feel offended by that. But once a man realizes that no matter how much money he pays, some women will never be satisfied, that man will stop doing for the next woman and the woman after that and the woman after that until she shows him that she can be satisfied and she is valuable enough for him to invest in her. Hey, I really appreciate it. The 51st time. Oh, this is the best hook of the song.
This is the elevation protocol, rising above the chaos.
He's coming through the crowd like the Shield, jumping over the Shield corner. I kind of feel like if I was a WWE stand-in, that I would have to come out of the audience as well. Have one of those ECW style pop-offs. But I think I would come over Michael Cole instead of coming down the stairs. I think I would like push my way through the crowd and climb over the barricade right behind Michael Cole. That would be entertaining. And this is protocol from alanito.music album that they dropped down for us. So I want to make sure that y'all know that y'all can find these in the comments. You have them in either over here in the description or down here in the description. You can always go and find those. It will give you links directly to the YouTube channel, and it'll also give you links to where you can pick those things up from like Amazon and other such places if you want to go and get it. iTunes has it, stuff like that, Spotify. But yeah, definitely. Now, moving beyond simplistic narratives like nice guys finish last allows us to foster healthier relationships based on mutual respect. Now, while we've explored what women might look for in a relationship, it's equally important to discuss another critical aspect of their lives: financial independence, which I'm going to tell you, ladies, you should probably spend more time putting effort into your financial self-sufficiency, because independence is sacrificing the team for your own individual success, whereas self-sufficiency, you're holding yourselves down until somebody comes and takes over the situation. Bayside says, unfortunately, a lot of women suffer from no daddy syndrome, which trickles down to us, aka insecurity. I'm going to leave that up there for a minute, because with only 18% of men getting their children, a lot of children are suffering from no daddy issues, men and women alike, but it negatively impacts women more than it negatively impacts men. It negatively impacts men because men do not have a positive male role model to guide them as to how to be the right type of man for a valuable woman. But it also negatively impacts men in a scenario where the men are becoming more feminine because they're only able to mimic and emulate the positive role models, or just role models if they don't have any role models that are positive in their lives that are female, because it's mom, grandma, auntie, sisters, older sisters, the neighbor lady that's watching you. Most of the time, we're more comfortable with having a female babysitter than a male babysitter. So with all of these things happening, men grow up around women, only learn how to behave from women, but then they're supposed to figure out how to be masculine, which is what women are looking for. And women are not teaching boys how to be masculine. They're only teaching boys how to obey the woman that is the authority in the man's life at the time, which is the mother. And that actually corrupts the situation, because once they become men, they don't really know how to act. And then the women are going to condition the man to be subordinate to the girlfriend before she's valuable enough to be considered a wife, so that he doesn't leave her for another woman that's going to treat him better than the one that he has. That's on the man's side of things. Now, on the women's side of things, women do not have, a lot of the times, proper guidance from men to know what a valuable man looks like. They don't know what a positive relationship looks like, because they've never seen it growing up in broken homes, where the women have to switch from man to man until they find one man to be stepdad when dad is long gone 13 guys ago or longer. The women are going to have no daddy syndrome, where they've never been given instructions from a man throughout their childhood, learning from women, not just their mothers, that tell the women not to listen to men, not to adhere to the authority of men, and be independent, where they're sacrificing the valued opinion of their partner so that they can be autonomous in their relationship. But that's a sacrificial behavior of independence is damaging towards what is supposed to be a mutually codependent relationship. She is supposed to depend on him as much as he depends on her. What she depends on him for is different from what he depends on her for, but he should be able to count on her the way she should be able to count on him. Now, that ability to not have a positive male role model in the woman's life will lead women to potentially finding partners that are as toxic as the negative male role models that they have been able to adapt to. And negative male role models is the stuff that they see on TV, the bad relationships that their parents are going through, the bad relationships that other women in their lives are going through, not just what they see on TV. And then they will find themselves subconsciously attracting themselves to that same type of toxic environment. So if you've grown up in a toxic environment, you're more likely, until you recognize this and start making changes, to find yourself self-harming yourself by putting yourself into toxic environments. It is a predisposition of failure, where you're subconsciously putting yourself in something that is going to fail, which is why we tell women a lot of times that you have to really think about your situation and think about how it negatively impacted you across 5 different people. Because if you're the same common factor of each one of those equations, you're the problem. Not saying that women are problems, but saying that individually, if I had 10 bad relationships, I am the common problem in all 10 of those relationships, because I had 10 bad relationships. Each one of those people had one relationship with me, but I had 10 bad relationships. In that dynamic, I am the problem. So I have to figure out what I'm doing wrong and fix that so that I don't have 10 more bad relationships. Now, as women mature, they start making these changes, and it brings them to a position where they start finding more appropriate ways to handle their relationships, and they start making better decisions, start diverting themselves away from the negativity. Some do, some don't. And the ones that don't continuously go back into the dating field without ever improving and never seeing more positive results. Those that do make changes eventually find somebody, more often than not. And when that occurs, they're less likely to end up back single again. Now, many working women are facing significant barriers when it comes to investing in stocks, which can hinder their ability to achieve financial security and financial freedom. One of the things I didn't do was look up the statistic of subsidized income that single women have from the dating game, which we should really talk about because there is a percentage of money that women get that men don't get. And I'll tap into that because that should play a role into our investment topic right here. Let's see, so we're going to look for the average subsidized income women receive from dating and relationships. Because you guys got to understand that there is statistics about these things. So I'm not sitting over here just trying to make it seem like, oh, women are gold diggers. That's not the case. Actually, because the dating game men offer and socially sometimes are expected to provide for the dating period. We're looking at 135,000 or 145,000 in dual incomes as opposed to 75,000 for sole providers. Women in marriages where they are primarily breadwinners earn a median of about 88,000 annually, and the husbands typically earn about 35,000, demonstrating how financial dynamics within relationships can change. So there you go, ladies. Y'all can make some money in this situation, but that wasn't answering the question that I was looking for, because there isn't a deeply statistical analysis as to about what percentage. But what we can say is that when you guys do break up and walk away from your relationships, you typically lose 40% of what you did have in the relationship. So for some reason, while women want to be single, I can find statistical evidence to show that in a relationship, you guys make more money. You have more money to spend, but when you're single, you have less to spend and you have more hardships. But for some reason, women are pitching to other women to stay single. Make that make sense for me, ladies. Now, balancing careers, family responsibilities, and personal lives leaves little time for financial planning or investment research. Many women feel overwhelmed by complex financial terminology such as Bitcoin, market trends, and investment strategies. Because we've had some of these women they were out there caught up in one of them TikTok trends where guys walking around asking a woman, will she take $100 bill or a Bitcoin? Those women don't know anything about finances. So not all women are like that. There are a lot of women that are very fiscally responsible, because even if they got their money from the divorce, they managed to maintain that money and not run out of money. So women historically have been fantastic with managing money. It's just that in the modern days, they don't feel the need to be tasked with that responsibility. And that's the reason why they aren't doing it. It's not that they can't do it. It's just that they don't want to do it. But these women that did not know what a Bitcoin was would not listen to their partner when their partner was saying that the Bitcoin is a more valuable selection. Instead of those women asking him what was a Bitcoin and what was its monetary value to aid her in her ability to make a financial decision, because she knew the value of $100 bill and did not know what a Bitcoin was, she would argue with her partner about which selection to take, instead of negotiating and cooperating with her partner and coming to understand the difference between the two to be able to make the most effective financial decision. It's equivalent to arguing with your financial advisor about your money, or arguing with your lawyer about your freedom. It's very interesting. Now, I understand that a lot of women believe that they shouldn't be told what to do, but I mean, if you really want financial advice, you go and find you a financial advisor. If you want to be in a relationship that's financially successful, you go and date a man that does not have to have a bunch of money. He doesn't have to be a millionaire. He has to be fiscally responsible with his money, however much he has. Because I just finished giving you guys a statistic where there are some women that are making almost $100,000 a year dating $35,000 a year men. I wasn't expecting to find that. This is live. I am not keying this specifically to do anything positive or negative for the red pill, blue pill, black pill scenarios. I want you guys to understand that these are facts that y'all can learn from. There is some risk aversion because women have the fear of losing money or making poor investment decisions, often discouraging women from entering the stock market in general. Much women have a financial advice focus on some men where the man's goals and risk tolerance, neglecting the unique needs of the woman working, tends to negatively impact the woman's desire to be successful with finances. Now, these challenges can prevent women from building wealth and securing their futures. And that's one of the reasons why there are some women talking about those escape funds, which I keep telling y'all makes absolutely no sense. Y'all don't need to be investing in escape funds. Y'all need to be investing in the retirement of your relationship in general, where you're putting away enough capital for both you and your boyfriend or husband can stop working and spend more time together. If that is your goal, instead of the latest Prada bag or the latest red bottom shoes, you would be able to find yourself generating enough wealth to be able to buy the latest Prada bag and the latest red bottom shoes more often, because you have more wealth in the future than what you have in the present. If you start from the bottom and work your way up, once you get to the top, you are going to be more successful than what you are if you continue to spend the entire time you're at the bottom. You will stay at the bottom. Now, building a relationship with a supportive and financially responsible partner can significantly enhance a working woman's investment opportunities. And ladies, this significantly enhances a man's ability to succeed as well. A good man can provide emotional support, financial collaboration, and shared decision-making that empowers a woman to achieve their financial goals. A relationship with a financially compatible partner allows for pooling resources and aligning financial goals. Couples can combine income to cover household costs, and this can free up funds for investments, which is what I've been telling y'all for the last couple months. Partners can open joint accounts for mutual investments, such as stocks, real estate, or retirement funds, and collaboratively setting financial objectives like savings for a house, retirement, or the child's education provides clarity and purpose as to where the money's going and why. Studies show that couples who manage finances together experience increased relationship satisfaction and stability, where joint financial planning fosters teamwork, enabling both partners to contribute to the wealth building strategies. A dual income household is not individuals with two jobs. A dual income household is two individuals bringing in income. And these dual income households provides more opportunities for diversification and risk management in investments. For example, with two incomes, couples can save more aggressively, allowing greater investment and higher growth assets like stocks or mutual funds and ETFs. Partners can diversify their portfolios by balancing high risk investments like stocks with safer options like bonds or real estate. Combining financial resources may allow couples to invest in larger opportunities, such as commercial properties or business ventures. Research indicates that married women often feel more financially secure and confident in achieving long-term goals compared to single women. Partners should create a shared budget that includes allocations for investing. This ensures both parties are contributing equally towards their future while maintaining transparency. Instead of wondering where he's been all day, you want to know how many dividends have been paid out this month for the stocks and what the share values are, which you should be able to look up while I'm at work. And I should be able to look up while you're at work. And we should be able to combine our knowledge so that we can come to understand how volatile the market is and whether or not we're going to buy, sell, or trade. If one partner is more financially savvy, they can take the lead in researching investments, while teaching the other partner. So as I gave you guys that example of the girls that were arguing a guy down for taking $100 over a Bitcoin, since she did not know what a Bitcoin was, just shut up and let him explain to you what it is and what its value is, so that you can decide, oh, I agree with my partner because this Bitcoin that's worth like 70, 80, $100,000 is more valuable than $100 bill that is a piece of paper that holds no value once you tear it. Whoo, that was deep. Another example is a financially knowledgeable man might help his partner understand the stock market trends if she's willing to listen, or guide her towards sustainable investments. Conversely, the women might bring her long-term planning skills into the equation. So the way women are able to prepare for the long haul might aid the man in his ability to ensure a balanced portfolio growth. Where we do have spikes in increase, we have a linear fashion of increase, because the market is going to have its spikes and its dips, but our balanced average should be a linear increase. Couples can use their combined income to explore larger investment opportunities through those real estate and entrepreneurial ventures, such as purchasing rental properties together. If you build yourselves an LLC, set you guys up a partnership, you can hire your kids, because you guys, one could be the broker, the other could be the agent, which you guys could save money on your deal that way. Then you have the ability to have your kids help you with advertising on the property. They could be market analysts, and that can help them make money and start up a career on the side, as well as maintaining a real estate business. This is a lot of stuff that y'all can do. And then paying the kids a salary, which allows the kids to use their allowance money that they earn from working to pay for all of their basic needs, as well as their personal desires, while teaching them how to budget and save and invest, so that your kids can have their own income stream, where you're not wasting all of your income on satisfying the kids' personal desires, which makes the kids more responsible. Now, doing this will allow you guys to generate passive and residual income together. Starting a business together allows both partners to benefit from the shared profits. So while you marry your partner and become a husband and wife, one unit in a tax scenario, if you started up an LLC together, you guys became a business. And if you started up a C corporation, that'd be even better, when you guys became a business, family business, and you get more tax benefits from a business than what you do from your own individual W-2 tax statuses. Now, while collaborations are key, maintaining individual financial self-sufficiency is equally important. So, ladies, this isn't saying that you should throw all of your so we have individuals that like to pop in and spam. These things happen from time to time. And women should keep personal accounts separate from the joint accounts, which allows them to maintain their own personal acquisitions of the things that they want, need, and desire. So keeping your personal accounts maintains and retains your personal savings accounts alongside joint accounts for discretionary spending. You want to educate yourselves and continue learning about investing independently to ensure informed decision making. Set individual goals, and you want to be able to pursue your personal financial objectives alongside the shared ones to maintain autonomy. Now, research highlights that financial self-sufficiency within relationships fosters mutual respect and reduces conflict related to money. Being in a stable relationship with a good man can boost women's confidence in managing finances. For example, married women often report feeling more engaged in long-term financial planning compared to single women. emotional support from a partner reduce anxiety around high risk decisions like investing in volatile markets. Ironically, ladies, even when men go out to invest, no matter how much they're going to invest in, and no matter how much it might be beneficial for them in the long run, before a man invests, he is encouraged by other men to go back and ask his girlfriend or her wife of her opinion of major investment opportunities, because it will impact the household, and she is part of the household. So she should be able to put that vote in. Notice how that's not something that's universally done with the ladies, where women are not telling other women, go ask your husband for permission to make this decision, because your decision might impact your relationship with your husband. Women say, he can't tell you what to do, be your own woman, Miss Independent. Men teach other men self-sufficiency, but also partnership. Make sure she knows what you're about to do, because I'm not going into business with you and she doesn't agree with this, because that scenario, when she finds out, she may force you to pull out of the deal, which may cause me to lose money. So before I get into this deal with you, you go talk to your wife, make sure that she knows what's going on, make sure that she's okay with this. Then you come back and talk to me about it. And if we got a deal, we got a deal. If we don't, we don't. This is how men do business, ladies. Make sure that you, before one man does business with another man, make sure that your wife knows what's going on. Now, when there's more than enough money going around, where the quantity of money that you're spending is insignificant, it's not going to negatively impact the household. The tolerance there is high. The wife doesn't care what's happening. I can make whatever decisions that I want. But if I'm about to put the house up in this deal, that's a major decision. If I'm about to put the deed to the cars up on this deal, that's a major decision. If I have to liquidate assets that are no longer going to be accessible to the family, that's a major decision. And that requires me to go and talk to my partner. So ladies, if y'all have that mentality, y'all would be able to share what is moderate as well as major decisions. And then the minuscule decisions are allowable for you to make informed decisions on your own without having to consult with your partner. But that requires you guys to have the type of relationship where you communicate a budget level. Anything below this amount, you do whatever you want. But once it exceeds this amount, even if it's intended to be a surprise, we must give and receive consent before we start spending certain quantities of capital on individuals that on individual expectations that could negatively impact the remainder of the relationship. So a man shouldn't buy his wife a car if it exceeds the budget of discretionary spending without communicating with her his desire to buy an extra car and confirm with her that if he bought the extra car, that would be acceptable based on their equal understanding of the current financial budget. She may tell him what the price range is that they can afford. She may tell him the monthly payment style, insurance rates, gas prices, whether or not it's an economy car, an electric car, all this other stuff. And then after that discussion is made, he could surprise her with a car that's inside of their agreement, because they talked about this first. So you're not going to roll over there and say, oh, well, I want to buy you a car. What kind do you want? That's not what women want. If we were to pick up extra vehicles, what would our finances look like? Or what type of vehicle would you prefer or agree to? If I was to select, A, B, and C types vehicles, would you select the same type of vehicles, or would you select something else? When you have that type of discussion, you guys can collaborate as to you're not really caring about the makes and models. You're only focusing on the cost versus the profits. That's what you're talking about with this. Now, she tells you her favorite car and you can afford it. It's in line with your agreement. Go grab it. Additionally, pivotal life moments such as marriage often motivate women to take greater control of their finances because they feel like his asset is hers now, leading to increased involvement in the investing. A relationship rooted in equality ensures that both partners have an equal voice in financial decisions, where key practices include establishing joint accounts where both parties contribute proportionally based on income, which supports pooling money fairly, sharing responsibilities for budgeting and investment decisions, fostering teamwork and trust, encourages marriage financing, managing financing together, open communication about spending limits and major purchases, which prevents misunderstandings and avoids financial conflicts. Equal partnerships empower women by creating a safe space for collaborations while respecting individual contributions. A healthy relationship with a supportive partner can significantly improve working women's investment opportunities by fostering collaborations, pooling resources, reducing financial stress, and boosting confidence. By leveraging dual incomes, sharing responsibilities, and maintaining individual autonomy within the partnership, women can achieve greater financial security and independence. Ultimately, relationships are not about emotional connections. They're also powerful platforms for mutual growth and empowerment. When both partners work together towards shared financial goals, they create a foundation for lasting success that benefits them individually as a team. Interestingly, there is an overlap between what women seek in relationships and what they need in financial empowerment, authenticity, confidence, stability, and long term visions. Just as women value partners who offer emotional security while embracing life's challenges with confidence, they also thrive when they approach their finances with a similar mindset as their partner. So, balancing calculated risks with thoughtful planning is one of the better ways to go. For example, a woman who values reliability in her partner might also prioritize stable investments like dividend paying stocks or bonds. Similarly, just as she might seek excitement in her relationships without sacrificing trustworthiness, she might explore higher risk investments alongside safer options to diversify her portfolio. In relationships, women want authenticity over stereotypes like nice guy or bad boys. They value kindness paired with confidence and depth. In finance, working women face unique barriers but can overcome them by focusing on education, diversification, time management, and tailored strategies. Whether navigating love or finances or both, women thrive when they embrace their individuality while seeking balance between excitement and stability. By fostering authentic connections in relationships and taking control of their financial futures through investing, they can lead empowered lives filled with purpose and security. So, women don't just want a nice guy or a bad boy, in case you didn't know. They want that authentic depth, confidence, and kindness, all wrapped up into one well rounded individual that actually has the capabilities of being spontaneous. So, fellas, instead of being consistent about your situations, you want to be able to find a way throughout the consistency to have spontaneity that still maintains balance in your relationship. And that might be the catalyst to your ability to attract a woman that is looking for more diversification in her relationship without having to have multiple relationships. Attraction being so complex and deeply personal cannot be reduced to simplistic categories or stereotypes. So, let's continue this conversation. What are your thoughts on the topic? Have you had experiences with nice guys or bad boys? Let's continue this important conversation in the comment section as we wrap up the show today. I want to know if you guys had any new insights off of today's topic, and have you experienced any challenges in dating while investing or investing while dating? I want you to be able to share your thoughts on that as well, because I'd love to hear your perspectives. And if you're interested in learning more about relationships or financial strategies tailored to working women, make sure that you stay tuned for more of the discussions that we have yet to come, since we have episodes Thursday through Sunday that are tailored to the self-improvement and self-empowerment of individuals, men and women alike, better decision-making skills, working together as a team to have that partnership, that family environment that brings you guys together, as opposed to being in those scenarios where we are regretting the decision that we made after we've gotten into it, and now we're doing collateral damage, trying to prevent from having a situation where we have to take a loss. So improving our abilities to make better decisions Thursday through Sunday is something that we talk about. So make sure that you guys tap back through. Now, remember, our Sundays are members only, that is open to the public, with the fans that are going to be asking questions and comments, preferably positive questions and comments, because as you've seen today, we've had to ban a couple of people for providing hate speech in the comment section, and that is inappropriate. So we're not even going to tolerate that. Zero tolerance to that. And those particular platforms will be added to the block list, so they won't be able to come back. That's how serious it is. So we're going to be respecting each other, and we're going to be respecting each other's opinions and perspectives, histories and events, to make sure that this open-minded, open mic, open forum podcast allows everybody to share their insights, learn and grow together in a positive fashion. Because even if you've made bad decisions in the past, it does not define who you are today, which also allows you to be able to grow and become a better person. So if you've made terrible decisions in the past that you regret, this is the perfect time to come to a podcast where you can learn from your mistakes and improve on them, instead of repetitively making the same bad decision over and over and over again, because I can tell you it is not going to improve your scenario. So what do we say that the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a new result. Stop what you're doing, change the way you do things, and aim for a better result. That's the best way that you're going to see improvement. Stop harboring on the past. Stop dwelling on the things that you cannot control, you cannot change, you cannot improve, and focus on making changes and improvements today for your future tomorrow, so that things will be better for you as you move forward. Because you can't build a time machine and go back into the past and change the past. You can't dwell on the past and let the past hold you down. They got a lot of bitter women around, and men too as well, that will dwell on the past and not let things go. You did what you did. It's done. It's over. Let it go. From that point forward, now it's time for you to make yourself better than what you were when you were causing chaos in your last relationship. Now it is time for both you, men and women, to make better decisions for your next relationship. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys coming to tonight's show. Special shout out to Bayside, Mr. Satellite, Rev Chap 76. I'm gonna get you on the list today, Rev. I'm gonna have you in there. I thought I'll put you in there. But you going in there right now. That way when it go back up there, it'll be you be up there. You up there with the rest of us, Rev. Reverend Chapel 76. I tell you what. Last time I seen 76, it was one of those Divine Nine. I was one of those Divine Nine fraternities. He says, Xander, I got one for you. How about women who are fully able to bear children, but have given up on men, so they get artificial insemination. We got time to talk about that real quick. We got time to talk about that real quick. Ladies, get ready. Now we're gonna throw some in the background here. There are individuals that have been emotionally damaged by too many partners. Based on their experiences, they're not willing to have any more partners, but they would prefer to still be parents. I would recommend that you first gain counseling on the trauma that you have experienced, because I don't think that it is okay for you to develop a household absent of both a positive mother figure and a positive father figure, because a man cannot teach a woman how to be feminine. A man can teach a woman how to be a positive partner for a man. A man can tell a woman what physical traits that she should have, but how a woman should walk, how a woman should take care of her feminine wiles, these things can only be taught by other women. And now women cannot tell boys how to be men. Women can only tell boys how to treat women, how to respect women, how to value women, but they're not going to be able to teach them everything it takes to be a man. So a woman that does not want to be in a relationship with a positive male figure in a child's life, I would say that you got to work through some of your issues before you start being a mother, because what's going to happen is, regardless of what child that you have, you're either going to have negative resentment if it's a boy, whether you want to or not, and accidentally mistreat him, or you're going to be teaching the woman to hate men before she has a reason to, which compromises her ability to make informed, neutral, non-biased decisions. The same way it's not healthy for a guy to go running out there trying to be a single father because his woman dumped him. That doesn't work out, because that guy might mistreat the girl and might teach the guy to be a man whore because he's bitter. You want to work through your issues before you start being a father. Now he's talk about the child having weird issues. How do you explain that to your kid? When you're dealing with children that have genetic hereditary defects based off of a portion of their lineage that is not involved in their household, you can't explain that when you do in vitro, in the artificial insemination. You have to at some point explain to your child that the reason why your child has got blonde hair and blue eyes and everybody else in the house has black hair and black eyes is because that child wasn't naturally born into this family. Children are taught that adoption means that the child wasn't wanted at some point in their life, which makes the child feel bad about themselves. But you have to be able to let the child know that the reason why the child was created the way he or she was created was because of your selfish desire to bypass certain avenues of natural reproduction. That it wasn't the child's fault at all, that the child was deliberately created in the fashion that you created the child, because some people get surrogate mothers because the mother is too old or doesn't have the capabilities to carry the child. They will take the mother and the father's DNA and put it into another woman, and that woman carries the child and gives birth to the child, and then the child ends up having the characteristics of the mother, the father, and the surrogate. So how do you explain that to the child? You've got to talk to them about, well, we made this decision. There's a lot of conversations that we don't feel comfortable with having with our children. And you've got to understand that just like a woman should not perform things in their life that they don't feel comfortable with talking to their boyfriends, a man should not perform things in his life that he doesn't feel comfortable with talking about with his wife or his girlfriend. Adults should not perform things in their adult life that they would be embarrassed or incapable of explaining thoroughly to their children. That's first person accountability. So if you're not going to be able to explain artificial insemination to your kid and why your kid's coming out looking like 4 different people, probably shouldn't do that. But there's no easy way to tell the kid that, you were born in a test tube. There's no way to you were incubated and grew like a watermelon in a grove. You can't, there's no easy way to explain that. Bayside says, ladies out there reading this and do not hate women. Oh, I do not hate women. It's just for a conversation basis to exist because it exists. No, look, Bayside, I'm going to tell you right there with that comment. I'm just going to let you know, no quorums. Well, what you have to understand is that a question that is an educational question is an educational question. You should not feel offended or offensive if you're asking an informed question where, based on your experiences, you want to know, why is this a thing? If somebody is getting offended by it because they fit the dynamic that we're discussing, they can jump onto the podcast and defend their position as to why they do this. But whether or not they should do it and how do you approach this if you decide to do it, that's what we're talking about. And you should not in any way, shape, or form feel subconscious about asking the question. It's a lot like when kids in school are subconscious about raising their hand in class and asking for help. We are more concerned about what other people think about what we're about to say than us actually learning something. And that inhibits our ability to grow and improve. If we're able to have an informed decision, a positive conversation about something that is going to benefit all of us, anybody who had that thought and didn't have the courage to ask, from Twitter X and from Twitch, are all thinking the same thing. Yep, that's a good question. And truth is, it's a good question. How do you approach that? And the only thing that I can tell you is that if you're perfectly capable of having a child, you should try at least one. For the sake of natural selection and genetic fitness in your gene pool, you should at least try to put out at least one heir to whatever legacy you're going to leave behind. You should at least try. When it comes down to how you go about accomplishing that, if you're in a situation where you do not have the capabilities to carry it yourself, you can. I was talking to you guys earlier about ladies, how y'all could, while y'all still have them, take your eggs and go freeze them, so that when you're in your 40s and 50s and you're not able to carry the children anymore after menopause, you're capable of doing surrogate mothers, where they can create the children for you, and then you have the natural birth and everything like that, where your child is still healthy, where your 40-year-old mother with a newborn baby after menopause. That actually, ladies, increases your value, because if you're still going to be the mother and the man is still able to have his legacy, it doesn't matter which woman bears the child. The fact that you're able to care for the child still brings more value back to those women that would otherwise not have that value if they don't have any fertile eggs left to fertilize, or any eggs left to fertilize. The thing is that women are only thinking about getting the abortion because they're not ready to be the mother, but they're not thinking about taking that abortion money and taking like 75 eggs out and going putting them on a shelf somewhere in a deep freezer, so that when they're 35, 40 years old and they're ready to have that kid, but they've already started doing a premenopause phase or already postmenopause, that they actually, or due to midlife crisis style scenarios where bad things happen, ended up with an inadvertent hysterectomy. You still got 75 some odd eggs there that you can produce an heir with. And I'd be honest with you, ladies, if I was y'all, I would probably fish out 75 to 100. You would not believe how many eggs women have. You should fish out 75 to 100 in bad boys over the course of your life, and sell most of them so that you can have enough money to hold on to a few of them, so that you don't have to spend a bunch of money on storing these bad boys. And then when you're in your older years, your eggs can fertilize his sperm, and then y'all can have a kid in vitro style, artificial insemination style, and then y'all can end up with that kid, and and that brings you back more value. You know that there's a lot more women in Asia that's doing that, which is one of the reasons why the age gap is like 40 years apart, because she could be a 40-year-old mother if she froze her eggs when she was 20. Y'all not thinking about this stuff. Basically, I said what's also crazy is that you can pick the race, the height. It's almost like you design a kid that you want. That's because so many men donate sperm. Some of them donate sperm for money, and others donate their sperm voluntarily to science, police investigations, what have you. And after donations, there's millions of sperm there, and it only takes one to fertilize an egg. So out of that cup that you filled, they only need like one scoop out of that to get a woman pregnant. So that cup that you filled could probably get like 50 women pregnant, depending on how they distribute it to the eggs. And the thing is that their catalog of sperm that they keep on deck, like ancestry.com, you can typically scroll through and pick like the height, the weight, the skin complexion, whether or not they have eye issues, they whether or not they have deformities, all kinds of stuff that you could pick through. And with genetic cloning, they can take a lot of people's sperm and clone it, and then start creating a whole lot of look. He said there's actually a Netflix film about a man who donated, and he's like father of thousands of kids. Exactly. I was telling you guys about that one guy who was a doctor. I told y'all that at the beginning of the show, where he donated his sperm to a bunch of, got 92 women pregnant by donating his sperm to those women, where it was supposed to be the father's sperm. The father's sperm was replaced with his sperm. I don't know where the father's sperm went, but he had 92 different women whose child wasn't supposed to be his, ended up being his. And it's crazy. But yeah, if you were to as men to maintain the satisfaction of your gene pool was to donate a bunch of sperm to the sperm banks, or sell a bunch of sperm to the sperm banks, and then they use that sperm to impregnate a bunch of women, you can have a bunch of kids out there that you don't know nothing about. You can have a bunch of kids out there that look just like you, different skin complexions, different heights, different weights, different lifestyles, and most of them don't even know that you're their dad, because they're not supposed to talk about that. Special shout out to Carl. Carl's diving in. I appreciate Carl. Carl's back. It's been a while since I've seen Carl. Hopefully mom's doing good, Carl. Greatly appreciate that. Oh, definitely greed definitely comes into play. You know that being greedy about producing heirs is a different kind of greed as opposed to getting money. Not too many people notice that. So I think that it's crazy that people can be that way. But yeah, there are some people that will get out there and they will try to control the genetic market and build a lot of air, because if you have one child, there's a 50-50 chance that they'll make it to a mature age to reproduce, and then there's a 50-50 chance that they might actually try to produce, which means that you really got a 25% chance of having a grandchild. But if you have a 25% chance of having a grandchild, but you have 1,000 kids, the odds of you having a grandchild is like 250 out of 1,000, and the odds of those 250 grandchildren having grandchildren would put you somewhere in the realm of a few hundred, which means that your legacy would go on for generations. Now, in this podcast where we're talking to you guys about building wealth and everything to that effect, is crazy. He said the name of that movie is The Man with 1,000 Kids. I got to go check that out. It's a documentary, right? Because I remember the man who naturally created 210 kids or 230 kids over his 130-year lifestyle, 210 kids over 130 years of his life. I thought that was crazy. But with technology, a man with 1,000 kids, whoo, that's record breaking right there. I could tell you that. Um, I was thinking somewhere along the lines of like 10, 20, you know, across 5 different women. That might be a good number to be. But 1,000, you already know that with 1,000 kids, that's at least 500 or 700 women. And when you're talking about artificial insemination, odds are it's 1,000 kids across 1,000 different women. You are not paying child support on all those kids. $250 to $500 a kid. Nah, I don't even think Nick Cannon can afford that. He got almost 20. Nick Cannon be throwing his around. He got too many. But yeah, that's my take on it. I think, okay, so and this is going to touch into a sensitive topic. Women that date women because they hate men, not because they just prefer women. They still deal with the male anatomy in their emotional interactions with the women, with the strap-ons and whatnot. You are just really replacing the fact that you're traumatized from a past experience. And again, that's going to be one of those scenarios where any decision that a woman makes that excludes a man out of her life just because he's a man is typically done so based on trauma. Because naturally women are drawn to men and men are drawn to women. Some people in the LGBTQ community are not going to agree with that. They're going to say, oh, well, you could be born attracted to the same sex. Well, you could be born with 2 genders at birth, and then your parents choose one, and the one that they chose wasn't the right one, and then you end up growing up with the wrong gender. And then you got to spend all this extra money, which has been outlawed now, to get the opposite gender. But no, and then you also have the individuals that were assaulted as children, and now they're making abnormal decisions because of sexual abuse as children. And you got to understand, though, you have some children that were sexually abused and they did not decide to play for the same team. They actually have some that were sexually abused and they became whores, and as adults they became overly sexually active because of the sexual trauma that they experienced as children. So not all the time do the chicks that are on OnlyFans do that because they're too stupid to do any better. They sometimes they're self-traumatized themselves off of past trauma. Same way, a lot of the times that men make bad decisions, they don't always make those bad decisions because they're too stupid to make good decisions. It's because a lot of the times their decisions are based off of past traumas. And they have not put forth the effort to recognize those past traumas and put forth effort into changing their decision-making process to get away from those past traumas. This puts them in a position where this puts them in a position where they're not capable of improving themselves because the trauma reinstills their fear of being traumatized, which then makes them act overly protective of the trauma, which puts them in a position where they're not able to see improvement, because it's going to be a vicious cycle. Carl says, my sister used to work in a hospital and there were a lot of situations where they had both. Yeah, it is common. They call them ladyboys in Thailand. And the fact is that here in America, what people used to do was pick one. And that's why you have because it's a genetic mutation. When you have 2 X's and a Y chromosome, it might be a female with an expenditure down there. It could be 2 Y's and an X chromosome, where overly masculine scenario. These things happen. And when it happens, it protrudes itself in different ways. We learn about it in biology class, but we don't pay attention to it in life. Then when it happens to us, woe is me. It's a boy and a girl. What do we do about that? I don't have advice for that particular scenario because I haven't had both. He said, and the parents would be embarrassed to say, so they would do surgery right away. They immediately upon birth operating on the kids. And that's why the president's banned that as well. So you can't be doing surgery on these kids. Whatever they were born with atomically, that's what they're stuck with. So if they got both of them like Norbit, they got both of them. You just gotta figure out how to get around that. Well, see, it definitely screws the kids up because he or she, they would have came out normal, where they could have been raised normally, regardless of the fact that they have multiple genders, and then they could have put themselves in a position where normally they would have been able to grow up and be socially accepted within reason. You'd be able to teach them the scrutiny of society so that they could be sure that when they're in this situation, before they start becoming intimate with individuals, they're probably going to be more encouraged to save themselves till marriage. They will be able to make sure that their partner knows that this is an issue that needs to be addressed. But the fear of embarrassment makes us make bad decisions, and then the child's negative lifestyle impacts their entire adulthood. The child is now going to be making bad decisions as an adult because we made bad decisions upon their birth. Then the scenario is that we're going to blame society. It's not society. The child didn't have a running start in a positive direction. Exactly. Then they can make their own decisions. So if the child was capable of leaning one way or another, if the laws allowed it, because they don't anymore, then the kids would be able to select what they're going to select and then not have to worry about the outcome. Nowadays, you're going to have to fly to another country and get that surgery. But the country is only going to recognize you if you're male on your birth certificate. They're not going to allow you to change that. You can't self-ascribe yourself to be something else. If you had male genitalia at birth, you're stuck with that. It's always going to have an M on your identification card. You just got to deal with that. But what we don't do is we don't think about, these are the kind of discussions that we're supposed to be having in relationships when we start talking about having children. Well, how would you handle a child with two genders? How would you handle a child with no gender? That's a possibility. They talk about it in the Bible, but that's a possibility. A child with not an asymmetrical, what is not asymmetrical? Aseptic, I think is what they call that. I'm saying it wrong, but it's a not a unisex, but a singular non-genetic individual. They've got a term for it. I can't think about it off the top of my head because we just went through like 2 hours of information. But the thing is that how do you handle that? How do you because your pronouns are going to be different for that child. The way you teach them stuff is going to be somewhat the same, but when it starts coming down to their anatomy, you're going to be teaching them different stuff when it comes down to maintaining cleanliness and proper hygiene with it. And then whether or not they're capable of reproduction depends upon the type of anatomy mutations they have. But we also have to realize that genetic mutations are the parts of evolution in a population that starts growing more how do you put this? Individuals that can't reproduce, you start creating a society that is eliminating a certain genetic line. Likewise, individuals that are starting to produce multiple genders in a society that is more socially separated, you start coming to find, almost like the dinosaurs and other animals, where the person could get themselves pregnant. There's a movie about that online. I think it's First Watch or something, not First Watch, First Look or something like that. I'm gonna go find it on Netflix and I'll tell you about the name of the movie tomorrow. But what it was about this woman that was born with two genders from herself, which is ironically, as she went to the past and she got herself pregnant because she got blown up in this scenario, and a lot of her body got damaged, and then she ended up with just the male genitalia, so that she grew up as a man. After spending half of her life as a woman, then when she went back into the past, got herself pregnant, um, uh, she gave birth to herself. It's one of those sci-fi movies, but the purpose of talking about that was it is possible for an individual to self-impregnate if they have both male sperm and female eggs. And that is going to enable genetic reproduction to produce more lineage in a society that is socially separate. So evolution will start creating more beings that can self-impregnate as the population migrates into self-isolation in order to continue to maintain the species. Now, that's just a scientific conversation about that. That's why when I told you at the beginning, Bayside, when you started that topic, when you started this exact topic, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. That's something that we should be talking about, because it's crazy that based on, it's not just happening in Thailand, it's not just happening in Bangkok, it's happening in America too, it's happening all over the world, that outside of webbed toes and gills, that we're seeing certain genetic traits like multiple genders or no genders at all. And we've got to know how to handle that. I can tell you one thing, two things. I'm not parading my kid around like that, where my kid is going to be like the social stigma where news and media and interviews, because that's insulting to the child. And three, I'm not going to be embarrassed about the child. Or one, I'm not going to be embarrassed about the child. You gotta take care of the kid and treat the kid the way you would have treated any other kid. And, make sure that they will be accepted and respected. That's why all the children that I talk to when I'm teaching a lot of my kids, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am to the kids. Now, I'm old enough to be their daddy. Some of them I'm old enough to be their granddaddy. And I give them the same respect that I would give another adult. Because if you teach the children mutual respect, they will learn it and then replicate it. If you teach them disrespectful behavior, they will learn that and they will replicate that. So what we have to do is we have to approach the situation with love and affection. And that's one of the things that I encourage everybody on this podcast, is a better positive mentality and a different way to go about doing things. Instead of us coming from an oppressive hate scenario, instead of us coming from a biased perspective where, one person is at fault and nobody else does anything wrong. I'm like, look, we need to really look at this from a first person accountability scenario, make changes so that we're not causing negative influence on the scenario, and then encourage the people around us to also not negatively influence the scenario. If everybody eventually makes their way to all cohesively working together for a better future, the future becomes better. But if we individually complain about how things aren't right, but never put forth any effort to make change, we're never going to see improvement in our lifetime. And we're never going to see improvement for our legacy that we leave behind. And why are we creating a legacy in an environment that we're not satisfied with? If we want a legacy, we should be putting forth the effort to change the environment before the legacy gets here, so that the legacy can benefit from the better environment. And that's the whole premise of this podcast. Change the stuff that we think is fucked up so that we don't have to have our kids living in a fucked up environment. You change the way you think, the way you think things are messed up in your relationships, so that you don't have to exist in messed up relationships. You change the way you treat and are being treated by people in your society, so that you are not dissatisfied by how you are treated by the people in your society. We become more helpful in our society so that when we need help, somebody will help us. It is a passively selfish mentality. But instead of demanding aid without ever providing it, we provide aid and then just hope that aid comes back to us. Exactly. Just like Carl said, break the chain. We have to break the chain of toxicity. We have to break the chain of oppressiveness, social classism. We have to break the chain of negative socialism, inequalities. We have to break that chain, break the stereotypes, and then build new traditions. So the way things it's always been, just because it's always been that way, doesn't mean that that's the way that it needs to stay. It might have worked in the past, but it don't work now. And since it don't work now is the generation that we change it. And as we change things for the better, we're able to see better, hopefully in our lifetime, which then allows us to do better and be better, which then allows us to pass on better to our kids. And the only other thing that I'm going to leave you guys with today is that we're going to then reinforce teaching all of this knowledge to our kids and our grandkids, because right now we have a lot of countries that teach the history of chaos and trauma and turmoil, which builds hate. We are not teaching our children success and self-sufficiency. Somebody somewhere has to put more time and more effort into teaching success and self-sufficiency, while the chaos that was the past does need to be passed on from generation to generation so that we know where we are from where we started. We still need to be taught what we need to do to get to where we want to be from where we've made it to. We can't just look back all the time on the history of the past. We have to figure out ways to look forward and a lot of times be trailblazers. That's going to a lot of times provide us with the capabilities to carve new paths. But when you're carving a new path, you are the person that's going to be going through the hardest portion of this journey. You have to break down the branches and go through the trees and fall in the moats. You have to go through the hardest part of this path. As you carve this path and you learn from your mistakes of this path, you put up warnings to let people know: pothole, bottomless pit, swamp, snakes, scorpions, piranhas, be careful, safety, guardrails, safety nets, because you had to go through all of that. You had to go through that obstacle, the school of hard knocks. And then after you finish going through it, you changed it so that the next person that follows the path that you carve doesn't have a harder way to go, doesn't have as hard of a way to go to get to the same destination that you was trying to get to. Carl says the trouble is everyone looks at the past and dwells on it. Oh yeah, they'll dwell on it to psychological and emotional depression, clinical depression, suicidal depression, to the magnitude where they will prefer to end their life and not have a future than to let go of the past. And the sad thing is that they need to find a way to cope with the past and learn from it so that they do not relive the life that they have lived before, and then improve their decision-making process so that as they walk themselves into the future, they will see a better lifestyle and a better outcome and a better environment so that they are satisfied with where they are, as opposed to clinging to the trauma that they've been through. The 12 trials of Hercules is 12 trials of hell and damnation that you have to overcome in your life in order for you to reach the promised land. Do you think that if you've made it to the promised lands, that you've made it to salvation, that you're thinking about the trials and tribulations that you went through to get here? No, you are celebrating and enjoying where you are now. So what happened to get you here is not nearly as important as the fact that you are here. So if you put more time and effort into making sure that when you get here, that you stay here, that you continue to move forward in a positive behavior, in a positive direction, so that you never go back to the hell and damnation and trials and tribulations that you went through, so that you never have to relive past mistakes, then you're able to say that I succeeded. Bayside says, just don't try to run your house like Run from Run DMC sitcom, bro. Run DMC, Flavor Flav, MC Hammer. I'm not trying to have those type of lifestyles. I'm not trying to have one of them crane mansions with 52 wives and they're fighting each other over me in the household. If I got 52 wives, y'all better be working together. Whatever type of environment that we have, the household should be a peaceful household. And I should not have a podcast of a lifestyle. Yeah, when we start traveling with the podcast, we're going to go live for a few hours in a different country and talk to some folks and do some stuff and this, that, and the other. Exactly. They're all broken. But we're not going to be sitting here with like a whole, like, oh, let's give you a tour of the house. No, fuck all that shit. No, nobody needs to know what's going on in the house. What they need to know is that I made it. That's all they need to know. And they don't need to know that. They just so happen to find out that I made it, because it's like, oh, the background's different. Yeah, that's because we're in a hotel in Thailand. That's really like how it happens. Xander, people don't even eat at the table as a family anymore. Bro, I know. Everybody eat in a bedroom, they eat in a car, they eat on the go. People don't come together as a family anymore. I've made that mistake quite a few times. I've recognized that in these days, because like when I was talking to you guys about the family dinner that I had back in the day, and then I tell you, like, these days, this past 4 years, I have not had a family dinner. I have not sat at the table but one time in the past 4 years and ate with somebody else. I have sat by myself. I understand it. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Part of the reason why we don't sit with everybody else is because we had discussed it with the other people that we got to sit with. Because instead of us working out our issues and making changes and improving our lives and cooperating as partners and working towards a universal whole, you don't want to eat lunch with the lazy workers on your shift. You don't want to share the grade with the lazy workers in your project. You don't want to share the profit with the lazy people in your workforce. So that's one of the reasons why I be giving the advice that I be giving on this channel when I be telling people about, changing the way we do things, because the resentment that builds up from somebody not liking how you behave, even if they don't tell you that they don't like how you behave, you notice that they don't like you even more each day because they spend less time around you. They spend more time hiding from you. They spend more time closing the door and keep you on the outside of the door because they're tired of your behavior. In order for you to get them to give you more of the attention that you want to have, you have to find out what they're pissed off about, fix that, do better so that they can be proud of you, look forward to seeing you and share life with you. But if you keep doing the same things that piss them off, you will be in a situation where they don't want to have anything to do with you, and they will eventually gravitate so far away from you that they're moving out of your house or putting you out of theirs. That's one of the main reasons why relationships are falling apart, because nobody recognizes that the shit ain't right and they're not putting in the effort to change. Bayside said all those guys' kids, even Will Smith's kids, they're all strong. They're all strong. Okay. Yeah, they're all strong. Oh, yeah. And think about this. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett did such a good job with the way they raised their kids that even though Jada Pinkett got somebody else and Will Smith got somebody else and they both living in two different houses, Will Smith's lifestyle and Jada Pinkett's lifestyle ain't got nothing to do with the stability of their children. They children ain't out there getting arrested every day, always on TMZ, upside down in a coke den somewhere, being brought to no rehab like Britney Spears. Steve Harvey's kids ain't out there in trouble every damn day. Some people take time to teach their kids what they should and should not do. Whether or not you can do it is not the same as what you should do. Carl said that's where everybody can bond and communicate at the table. You are right. But in order for you to be at the table to bond with somebody, you got to want to bond with that person. If you don't want to bond with that person, you're not going to want to sit across a table from them. Ironically, in relationships, people believe that sitting next to this person is the best way to go to build a better bond, but you can't see each other. The closer you sit to the person, the less you really want to have something to do with them, because truthfully, you can't communicate with them if you can't see them respectfully. So you got to turn your body. You can't eat and talk to them at the same time. You see what I'm saying? You got to sit across from them, but you're going to lean into the person because you want to be next to that person where you can see them. So typically when you have emotionally intelligent dates, the husband sits across from his wife and the wife's friend sits across from her husband. So you have the two guys on one side of the room and the two girls on the other side of the room. The only time that you have a back and forth scenario is where like you and your wife is sitting across from him and her wife because y'all don't know each other yet. Y'all not comfortable yet. Y'all don't have that strong bond. And then if you have a situation where your wife is sitting next to him and his wife is sitting next to you, you guys have formulated the type of friendship where the four of you can, every other person, and you can talk to him and her, and she can talk to you and her, and the girl sitting next to you, you ain't paying attention to her because she's not in your line of sight. So you ain't even really acknowledging her that much as you're now. You'll come to find out, if you ever go sit and hang out with a group of people, you'll come to find out that you pay more attention to the people across from you than the people right next to you. So some women are insecure about a man sitting next to another woman that's not his girl. But the woman that he's sitting next to, he's focusing on the woman that he's over here with. He's facing the person that matters to him. So when you put yourself as the woman clinging to him, clinging to his arm and putting him right next to you, you're taking yourself out of his peripheral vision. Now, who is he going to be looking at? All the other women in front of his plate of food. Because you are outside of his peripheral vision. A woman would feel it weird that if I took her out to a date, I would put her across the table from me. She want to sit next to me. Well, I can't see you while I eat if you're sitting next to me. I want to look at you while I eat. That's a stronger bond. Some people are going to find that weird, but it's true. No strangers. That's right. So I do got to wrap it up now. I really appreciate you guys' insight. I love the fact that you was able to come in, Carl. You have some of the most brilliant, you and Bayside both, Usman as well, but Usman's been busy lately. You guys have been able to come through and provide so much insight. I really appreciate you guys for coming to tonight's show. Y'all definitely ratified it. And Rev be coming in, and Rev be learning some stuff. And I love when Rev come in because Rev be asking some questions that make me stop and think a couple times. I'll be saying, like, whew. Rev, they threw up some stuff. I got to go do some research. I got to do some research during the show. Rev be coming through. So special shout out to you too, Rev. I really appreciate you guys very much. Ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to ask y'all to keep making it make sense. So ladies, make it make sense. For the rest of you guys, if y'all hang out during the outro of the song, y'all can always use the reaction buttons to show your support for the podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe along the way. And if any comments hit the comment section that are appropriate, they will go up onto the screen as the show wraps itself up. So consider that as well. With that being said, we're going to be live tomorrow night around about 10 o'clock, like we are every night of the week. The sun doesn't rise unless we go live. So we're going to make sure that we maintain that premise. So with that being said, we got about 67% men. The women are starting to really dive in and learn some things. And I really encourage that, because while this is from the perspective of men, this is not gender exclusive. It is a male driven podcast from a male's perspective, but the women can learn some things about the mentality of men, as well as learning the capabilities of changing themselves as women to be more partner ready when they decide to settle down. So this will benefit you. You guys are going to make money with me and through me, and you guys are going to learn how to improve your relationships and your lifestyles as well. So with that being said, thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground!